just eerily quiet.
Yeah, I'm sorry. I was just waiting to see if I had the volume on. Okay, welcome everybody to Making Comics number 8. My name's Bruce. Hope you're joining us. If you're not right now, hope you join us in a little bit or watch the video on demand. Today, I've got Joey Tremblay. Hope I said that right. And Matthew Vealey. Right? Did I get them right? I hope
Close.
So. Okay.
Close. I will give you points because you're not a Canadian Sam Squanch. So
okay. Well, you could correct me here when I give you the chance to. So, these two guys, writers, very talented writers. Currently, I've worked with both of them on a couple projects for Ashcan Comics Publications. So make sure you go check that out. I put a link in the description of the video, and you can check those out, see what's up. So, without further ado, I'll let them introduce themselves and tell you guys a little bit about themselves. We can start with Joey. Go.
Excellent. Yeah, well, I'm pretty new to this whole comics thing, really. My life's been primarily based around music, and this was kind of a strange leap from one kind of skill set to another that I didn't have at the time. But yeah, essentially I started off with Skinny streams on the Needle Movers and just got to know a lot of really cool people. And from there, more cool people started showing me more cool people, and now here I am working on comics with even more cool people, and it's awesome, man. Basically, so far, I think I've put out like 4 or 5 stories, including one of them, which is the Blue Book universe. The story I started writing when I was, well, not writing, it was all in my head, but I started kind of thinking about it when I was really young, probably like 14 or something, and that kind of turned into everything that's happening right now, man. Because I used the Blue Book universe to create an album cover. I hired someone to basically create an image from it, and then one of me and Skinny's friends pointed out, he's like, hey man, it's like, this is dope, like this should be a comic. And I was like, yeah, I mean, that'd be cool and stuff, because it's a pretty elaborate universe. Then he introduced me to people, and now here I am working with Nate and working with you, Bruce, and I'm sure Skinny and I will work on some stuff. We talked about a lot of stuff when we were messing around for the last 10 years or so. But yeah,
I'll work with Canadians.
Yeah. But yeah, that's I don't know. That is me.
Well, that's good. That's good. And yeah, so we just got done working together. It's not published yet, but it will be. And I hope everybody enjoys it. I had a good time doing the art for it. It was fun. I hope you enjoyed it, Joey. So
yeah, it was dope, man.
Yeah, I read the stories. Fantastic. Great stuff. So how about you, Matthew? If people don't know, for one, Joey's Twitter is Fireface, right? Fireface. Probably due to the big beard, right? The big red beard, I would assume.
Completely unrelated, no.
Oh, no, not related. Okay.
I'm just kidding.
And then we have Matthew, and he goes by Skinny Ninja or Skinny the Fantastic Tupperware Salesman or something. Is that right? I don't know.
Tupperware Salesman Extraordinaire.
There you go. So now it's your turn. It's your turn, Skinny. Why don't you let everybody know what's up?
Well, I'm Skinny, otherwise known as Matthew Vealey. Yes, that's my real name. But I go by Skinny. It's a nickname people gave me a long time ago when I was a juggalo. Yeah, I'm that old.
All right.
Yeah, there's just a lot of Matts out there, so I do prefer to be called Skinny, especially like on live streams and whatnot, just to confusion. But yeah, writing's very interesting. I did that project with you for Otis Stein. Of course, Bruce, you did a fantastic job because you're already made the cover, man.
Oh, thanks. I appreciate that, and it was a really fun story to write for, and you're the one that gave me the direction on it, so that's good. Loved it.
Yeah,
good stuff.
But give yourself some more credit, man. Come on now. I'm doing the easy part. See that? I don't know, but yeah, I'm also working on something with Chainmail, which on that one I've got was it Ashton Cinders on Twitter.
Okay.
She's done the art. That's been finished. My story's pretty much finished. I've just been kind of avoiding it for a little while, but that deadline's starting to approach, so I gotta think about it again.
Right on.
But I also got a spot on the new theme. I don't know if I'm allowed to talk about them publicly. Can you comment on that, Joe?
Not, you can't really mention the theme, but yeah.
Well, I know it was announced among us, but yeah, I've also got another one in the works as well.
Oh,
And
great.
on top of all that, I'm doing a project with Doug Garrett for his anthology, Legends of the Lone Wolf. I know Joe's on there as well.
Yeah, man. Yeah, I'm doing a really unusual lone wolf story with oh my god, this guy's got a million names online. We'll just say Sir H. Gray on Twitter, and he's a killer artist. And I basically forced him to do really ridiculous and horrible artwork, and it turned out amazing. So I'm really excited to share it with everyone.
That sounds great. So it looks like you guys got plenty of work ahead of you. So that's good. That's good. That's one of the things. That's kind of why I started this channel, and I wanted to talk to a lot of independent creators because I don't know. I've just always enjoyed the independent scene a little bit more than the mainstream. I mean, don't get me wrong. I enjoy my superheroes as much as the next person. But there's a lot of creativity that comes out of the independent market, even dating back, oh my God, to the 70s and 80s. I mean, you know, one of the first actual superhero, you can't really call it a superhero movie, but a comic book based movie that I really liked was The Crow by James O'Barr. Okay. And that was an independent black and white comic back in the 80s. And so today you see so many creative people out there doing their own thing, and it's really encouraging. And there's a lot of good stuff out there, and I would encourage comic book fans to go and seek out some indies. There's plenty of stuff out there for anybody to enjoy. So
yeah, the pool of talent is huge. You got a guy like me that knows nothing about this stuff, and I probably know like 300 of you guys now. So yeah, there's a ton of talent out there and a lot of awesome projects.
Yeah, so much so I almost lost a spot on one of those projects. I think Corbin ended up stepping aside to let me on the next one just because I had so much going on. It took me literally like, what, 2 days to see it, and it was already just, everybody was itching to work, man. It was beautiful.
Yeah, the one that I applied for, I didn't even realize like I was the last spot, and this was maybe an hour after the project was launched, and it was already filled. I was like, holy moly! I don't know if we're allowed to swear.
no, that's fine. Yeah, I'm cool.
But yeah, man, I'm really encouraged by everything we're seeing within the Ashcan community, man. It's been awesome.
I just love how passionate everybody is. Like, and in case any of those guys are watching, you know, I haven't been very active on the Discord and stuff, but I'm watching you.
Mm-hmm.
I see the beauty that you're making. I see the secret yard.
You're watching like a ninja, right? Like a skinny ninja.
Ninjas always watch over things.
Right. Well, what I wanted to get into and talk with you guys today is about writing. Okay. How did you get into writing? Have you always wrote things? I mean, have you always been creative? Is it just something you recently got into? And what inspires you? What motivated you to take that leap and go, boom, I'm going to do this. This is what I want to do.
You want to go first, Skinny?
Nah, you can go ahead, Joe.
Oh, okay. Well, yeah, my road to this was kind of weird, honestly, man. Like I said before, music was my life. It still is, you know what I mean? And essentially, Skinny and I have been friends for over a decade now, and he introduced me to all you guys, man, all these awesome people in this community. And Doug Garrett was the first person really to like point me in the direction. He was like, hey, man, this album cover, it needs to be something other than an album cover. And then he basically reached out to Nate Lindley for me, and it was really cool of him to do that. And that's how it really started, man. And as far as writing, I mean, I've written enough lyrics, I guess, for my music, but generally what I do is instrumental. But I honestly feel like it comes from the same place, man. Even if you're writing it on a guitar, it's not that much different than words. It might sound strange to say that, but it seriously comes from like a subconscious level, right? You're not, at least when I've been writing, I don't think about it very thoroughly, right? I just kind of start, my fingers just start going, right? And whatever happens, happens. I try not to kind of limit myself too much. And so, yeah, man, that's my journey's been pretty all over the place, I would say.
Right, right. So, do you are you, as far as writing goes, are you inspired by other comics? Like, did the superhero genre get you tied in, or was it more prose writing, like novels or movies? I mean, what
I'd
like
Yeah, I'd have to say combination of real world and also movies, man, because I've always been fascinated with science and just random sciencey stuff.
mhm.
And yeah, so that was my number one influence, really, was just science. And I always thought there's a lot in science that can be told in a poetic way, right? And then when it comes to the actual art side of it, the medium, I don't really read a lot, man. In fact, I don't read much at all, just the stuff that Skinny sent me, really. And so movies would be my number one influence when it comes to, I don't know, other artists that have done this kind of stuff before. And TV shows even more so, I guess, than movies. I love TV. But yeah, I don't have much influences in that area, I guess.
I got you. I got you. Well, what about you, Skinny?
Oh, yeah. Well, I've always been interested. Funny story is I actually hated reading at one point in school, but that
Oh,
was mainly because, like, for some reason they started doing the accelerated reader. I don't know if all the other schools have that, but they started to try to dictate what books I was allowed to read. And that really
oh,
turned me off of reading for a little while because I don't like being told to do things.
okay.
I'm American.
That's right. Does anybody like being told what to do? Not me.
But it was silly stuff. Like, I remember every summer they would send us home with some random book, and they're like, "You got a report due when you come back." I never once did it.
In
Not
the
once.
summer?
Yeah, they and it would. I was such a rebellious turd that I was like, "No, I'm not doing this. This is my summer vacation."
That's just cruel. I don't know. I'm not down with that.
But I did end up starting to get into comics because that's one of the things I wanted to read, but the school wouldn't give you credit on. And then, for at first I started to get in these little like 3 or 4 packs at like a dollar store or Family Dollar or something like that. And I think it was Dollar General actually. There's so many of those dollar stores.
Right. They're all over the
But
place.
they used to sell these 4 packs of like X-Men comics or Spider-Man or whatever. It was
Hmm.
usually just Marvel books. They would be wrapped up in plastic because we didn't have a comic shop. I live out in the sticks in southern Alabama, so
Oh, okay.
it's not our strong suit. But from there, I ended up, they stopped doing that for a while because at one point I was getting some image books and I really loved Shadowhawk.
Right. Shadowhawk. I remember that. Yep.
So I love that. I love that character so much because I was like, man, he breaks people's backs. That's so cool.
Yeah.
But yeah, after that, I actually was still sticking it to the man at school, failing out of reading while I was also reading The Stand, the unabridged version by Stephen King when I was in like 4th grade.
Nice.
And after that, I've always been a good reader. I've tried writing. When I was growing up as a kid, I wrote a couple of really horrible comic books that I drew myself and stapled the sheets of paper together. But at one point in my life, I just realized that wanting to be a writer isn't really all that feasible. Unless you're lucky enough to become like a Stephen King or something like that. You end up just being broke and poor all the time. Because it wasn't a good career avenue. So I never sought anything else. And then I got back into comics thanks to Diversity in Comics. After my father had passed away, I started watching his videos, and it motivated me to actually go back to the comic shops and kind of start catching up on things because I really enjoyed it when I was a kid. And from there, then one day, Joe just asked me if I wanted to write a story for ACP. And I just said, okay. So my whole story of getting into writing is just circumstance.
It's kind of, yeah, same here, man.
Fell into my lap. It was kind of cool, actually. I feel.
Well, I think I asked you about the Lone Wolf thing the same day because there was 2 anthologies at the same time, and I remember throwing both of those options out there. I'm like, hey, man, you could do both of these.
Yeah, and it's incredible, man. I love writing. I still think it's terrible, but everybody else tells me I'm doing pretty good.
That's a good sign, man. I feel like anyone that feels they've mastered their craft has already lost the passion and has stopped learning. And I think you should just throw in the towel if you feel that way. You gotta, I don't know, you gotta be humble and you gotta realize you could be 93 years old and still feel like you're a world away from where you need to be, right?
No, absolutely. Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah, definitely. Because like I've been sitting on a chainmail story that I've had pretty much completed for the past 3 weeks, but I keep tweaking it because I'm just not happy with it yet.
You know, you guys maybe you wouldn't be surprised, but of how close though you can draw parallels to any kind of creative endeavor like writing and art. I'm the same way with art. I just finished the chainmail piece that I did with Joey, and I sat at my computer. Last night or this morning. I worked till about 3 o'clock in the morning on that thing. And at one point, I said, "You know what? I'm done. This has to be done, or I'm just going to sit here and I'm going to needle it until for another 2 hours. Because I could, because it's just like what you said. I think the piece is done, and then I look at it and say, no, it's not done. I could do this to it, or I could do this to it, and you're never happy and you're never satisfied. But that's all part of the process. That's all part of being creative. A friend of mine, I just started getting into writing last year because I've got a bazillion stories I want to tell, and I just don't have enough time. But and he told me, he said, just quit worrying about whether it's good or not. Just write it down. You're not going to know anything until you write it all down. Write it down. Let somebody you trust read it. They give you an honest opinion. And then you go from there. You could either, work on getting better, improving your craft, or you just give it up. A lot of people just give up, and it's all up to the individual to decide what they want to do and how they want to go and proceed forward. So, yeah, I could totally see that happening in the writing game, Yeah,
I think, like you said, it's true across all artistic mediums, man. Like, it's just, you got number one rule: you got to do it because you want to, not because you think it's good or not good. That doesn't even matter. You just got to enjoy the process, and that's the first thing you really need to focus on is yourself and your enjoyment of it.
No, absolutely.
So I want to throw something out there. Skinny did not mention that he did write a story before ACP. It's one of the funniest damn things I've ever read, man. It was a weird Star Wars thing.
Oh, that's not public, though.
I know, but it's seriously so funny, man. It's one of the funniest things I've ever witnessed, and I wish it existed because it's so good.
I want to try to actually finish that up. I want to do it for reals.
It's just straight chaos, honestly. It's amazing.
All right, in case anybody's wondering, I wrote a script for a radio drama parodying Comicsgate, Star Wars, and just anything in general that you can look and laugh at.
Right on.
It's very green milk centric.
All right. Yeah. Nice.
The whole idea, though, was on this whole radio play was to get everybody to do impressions. I think, Joe, you were going to do Kermit the Frog as the main character.
Yeah, as Luke Skywalker. Yeah.
Nice. That would be entertaining. I think you guys should pursue that and finish it up.
Yeah, that would be awesome, man. It really would. It's not. I don't think we need to put that much effort into the recording setup because honestly, when it comes down to a project like that, the comedy is enough. It doesn't have to be $1,000 microphone or anything like that. Just a simple USB mic and you're golden.
Yeah, absolutely. So, Skinny, so would you say you're more influenced by what it sounds to me like you're saying you're more influenced by comics in your writing than any other form of or medium, right? Or do you have other things you draw from when you're writing
Real life.
real
Um,
life? Okay.
I wouldn't say movies or TV because I'm usually really picky as far as those things go.
Hmm.
I mean, there's a few that stand out, but for the most part, it's just the shenanigans I see in real life.
Okay. All right.
Like you grow up, you're told that everything's like, logical. There's rules. There's ways to go about doing certain things, especially like when you're driving. And then you get out there in the real world, and every rule is just broken.
I got you.
it,
Yeah.
it, it seems strange to talk about it, but that's one of my biggest influences. Is all the crazy shenanigans I've dealt with throughout my entire life. Like,
Yeah, I don't think that's so unusual. I think a lot of people write from real life. I mean, both of you just said you did, so I don't think that's unusual at all. I think a lot of people do that.
Yeah,
And
I think that's an interesting place to write from because who knows better about what's going on in with your point of view than yourself, right? And it's too easy to fall into the trap of basically mimicking someone else, man. And in the music scene, it happens all the time. You get 1,000 bands that sound like the original one that started it, and I'm sure the same could be said in the comic book community.
yeah, no, for sure. I mean, you see that a lot in the big two in the comics. That it's a lot of comparisons between superheroes and storylines and story arcs and stuff. And I think some people just write for a paycheck instead of for the passion of it.
Yep.
Wanting to be creative, wanting to write things, and some people just do it for the money, which is fine. If that's what you want to do, that's what you want to do. It's just I guess it lacks a little soul. Maybe I'm getting too
No, it's
esoteric or whatever, but
no,
yeah.
it's true, man. And I think something that should be said is that some of the mimics are often very good and sometimes even surpass the original, at least from my experience, man. So you can't really go wrong if you're doing what you enjoy. So even if you write it from something that's massively influenced by something you enjoy, you could still pull it off. It's just my observation was a lot of people just kind of phone it in.
Yeah, for sure. You see that a lot. So another thing I'd like to ask you guys is, do you have a process for writing? Do you sit down at a certain time during the day and say, I'm going to write for 1 hour, or I'm going to write for 2 hours, or do you just do it whenever the mood strikes you, if it's possible, or how's that go about?
Oh, you want to go first, Kenny?
yeah, I usually sit down when I'm actually starting a new project. I'll sit down and I'll listen to some tunes to kind of pump me up. Usually, I'll try to listen to music that can easily be associated with the story I'm going to write. Like when I was doing the Otis Stein one, how I was kind of doing it lyrically. I was listening to a bunch of old minor music from
Mm-hmm.
like uh, 30s and 40s or what have you. Like 16 tons and whatnot, stories about hardworking men and stuff like that. Because that's the atmosphere I kind of wanted to go with at first. But I'd sit down, I'd listen to some music, maybe have like a, glass of bourbon or just a big cup of coffee. And
Right.
then I just hit it. As far as times of the day and telling myself I'm going to write for an hour this day, I don't do any of that. I probably should. I'm probably doing everything a writer shouldn't do.
Well, I don't think there's a set rule, but everybody has their own little thing they do. But yeah, no, that's interesting. When I try to schedule my time as an artist, right? Just because it helps me better. Because if I go all willy nilly, like, oh, I'll do it later or whatever, then later never comes, right? I end up doing something else, or like so. Because I do like to draw on things, but I got a busy household. I've got lots of things to do around the house, so um, you know, So I actually have to sit down and consciously make time to do what I have to do. So I don't think there's a right or wrong way. So.
Well, I'd probably schedule more if my work schedule wasn't like all over the place.
Yeah.
If I had a set schedule, I probably would be one of these guys who'd be like, "Yeah, I start writing every day at 7 o'clock."
Yeah, yeah. What about you, Joey? What do you schedule your writing time, or you just do it whenever?
Yeah, I just do it whenever, man. Although it is, like Skinny was saying, it's funny when he said like he's got a beverage he likes and he gets some music going. I guarantee a lot of people go about it the same way. Because I was gonna say the same thing, man. Like I usually get myself a cup of tea, just sit here at my desk, and I don't know, when it hits me, I just kind of go for it, man. And usually, it's funny. I usually put on like a song. It doesn't really matter what. I listen to a bunch of stuff, but I put on a song and I'm totally pumped to listen to tunes and start writing. And by the end of like, let's say it's like 2 or 3 hours in, like my ears hurt because I've had these headphones on for so long, but I never even played another song. I just put the first one on. I get so absorbed into what I'm doing that I just kind of totally forget music was even playing and I'm wearing headphones. So yeah, it's kind of ritualistic, but not planned, I guess. I wait till the inspiration kind of, I don't know. It's something I've always done, regardless of the project I'm working on. I kind of look for inspiration, or I try to find ways to motivate myself, man. I find the more you do that, the easier it is to find little things that kind of just amp you up.
Right.
And so that's all it takes, really. I just kind of find a little thing that I know is guaranteed going to amp me up in that moment, and away I go. I just start writing.
Well, I don't know. I don't know about writing, but it sounds like for both of you guys that music plays a big part in that. Because I know I listen to music when I'm drawing, or I'll watch YouTube videos on all kinds of crap. Like, I'll watch about the gaming industry because, I used to work in the gaming industry and I find it fascinating. So like the whole debacle over Anthem lately, I find interesting. Oh. So I watch some of that stuff and then I'll watch. What's interesting is I don't watch a whole lot of stuff about. I don't know why, but I don't watch a lot of stuff about comics, like comic reviews and stuff. Every once in a while, I will, just because I want to see what people are finding interesting and things like that. But comics, kind of like movies, they're very, it's very subjective whether or not you like them or not. So it's hard for me to watch somebody and say, definitely this is good or definitely this is bad, and then for me to make a purchasing decision based on that. So
yeah, it could skew your view as well. You might get that stuck in your head and you're watching it or reading or whatever, and you can't get it out of your head.
Right. But it is always fun to watch somebody going off on a movie or something. I don't know. There's so many of those out there anymore that I find that hilarious. But
I've been watching that Narkish roast movies lately.
Oh, really?
And it's beautiful.
Yeah, I was watching some of his stuff when I think he was was it Sashi that was doing the art for the videos?
Yeah, Narkish Tonight. Yeah.
Is he still doing that or no?
As far as I know, he isn't. I think it has something to do because a lot of time went into those videos, and I think it was just too much.
Right. Yeah. Well, they were well done. They were well produced. I'll give them that. So, yeah. So, do you have any favorite writers? What I also wanted to ask, that was just, one of those bullet point questions, was if you have a favorite writer and somebody you look up to. But another thing I kind of wanted to squeeze in there was, if when you're writing, or do you go by a set formula? Like, have you guys ever written like any script style writing? Because I know the Ashcan Comics publication stuff is more like, I guess he's deemed it flash fiction, where it's kind of like, really short stories and it's written kind of prosy, right? And I know Skinny, you wrote your story like a
song,
like a poem or a song,
yeah,
which is really creative. I give you kudos for that. And But when you guys are doing something for the Lone Wolf anthology, right? Is it you were saying that,
Yeah,
right?
and that's going to be sequential. So
Okay. So are you approaching that a different way? Like you're going to write it more like a script, or are you still going to go more with the prose and then work with the artist and try to work out a script?
well,
Oh,
what I've done is I've written an outline of basically what the story is for the short, and then from there I've actually scripted page by and panel by panel what should be happening. But I also allow Michael Leahyton, which is the artist I'm working with. I let him, if he wants to do something different, I'm going to let him. I mean, he's the artist. He's the expert in that field. He knows what's going to look best for what scenes. But I usually do write panel by panel. I might actually try doing the more of like the flash fiction kind of way, and then scripting it out with an artist later. I want to try all avenues to see what works best.
yeah. Yeah, I guess in my case, every project I've kind of done differently. Just I don't know. The Lone Wolf anthology, that one there, I didn't even have an artist lined up because everyone was pretty tied up, and so I was like, all right, well, I'm just gonna write it first, and then normally, like Skinny, I'd rather write it with the artist in mind, right, and so that I know what I don't know, their approach, how much freedom they want or don't want, because I'm sure some artists want a little bit more guidance, and some just don't want any at all. And I'm down for whatever way. But this one here, I basically just I just wrote what I was picturing in each panel one at a time, and then put the dialogue in there, and it was a really simple process. And then I got a hold of Sir H. Gray or James McCran, whatever people want to call him, and yeah, he just kind of took it into his own hands, and I'm like, do whatever you want with this, man. So he took the liberty of changing some panels and making a few adjustments, and it turned out really well, man. And
Yeah.
the thing with Nate is a lot different. I don't even know what you call that process, man. The Blue Book is like basically I just write huge amounts of like information. It's just crazy amounts of information about the Blue Book universe, and essentially Nate kind of went through it and he picked certain parts of it. He's like, okay, so this would make an awesome comic right here. And we kind of dissected little bits of it and turned it into sequential kind of pieces, just verbally. We wrote down little bullet points, but that's it. And then from there, I kind of just fit in some dialogue and whatnot. So basically, the Blue Book is just a whole ton of lore, and then we just kind of dissect it and turn it into stories.
Oh, I got you. All right. Well, that's a unique way to do it, but I mean, whatever works. It's kind of like what you guys said. You know, I appreciate what you said about kind of working with the artist and letting them, kind of put their 2 cents in. Because I really think it's a collaborative effort. Doing comic books. It's a visual medium, and which has a story, and so not only do you have to have a solid story, good characterization, things of that nature, which is what the writer kind of sets the baseline for. The artist also has to be able to tell a story sequentially, right? With his art. That's what people buy comics for. So working together like that, I think that's the way to go. And honestly, I think that's why sometimes the bigger comic companies, I think that's why they fail on some stories, because they have this. Sometimes they'll have a really strict formula for how they're going to do it. Okay, the writer writes, sends you the script. Now you have to draw it. And if the writer doesn't trust the artist, then they're not going to allow any leeway, and the artist has to stick strictly to the script. So
From a few books that have come out recently, I can tell there's been no communication between the writer and the artist, like at all. Like, it's so strange how the big guys, some of them are doing it. This whole networking from home thing is definitely not a good thing, in my opinion.
It can work, but not the way they're doing it. Like, I remember you telling me, Skinny, you were reading a book that in the middle of the book, you're like, these 2 pages are weird, they're off. And there was 2 pages in the middle of the book that were done by a different artist.
Yeah, that was so strange. I was like, why didn't you just delay the book if they couldn't do these other 2 pages? Like, what is the deal here?
Yeah, that's crazy.
2 pages out of a 24-page book, man. I think it was Was it just? No, it was no just. No, no justice was like half a book done by a different artist. Shoot, I can't remember what story it was, but it was a terrible book, anyways.
That's crazy.
I think it was. Oh, poop! I blocked it out of my memory. It was Heroes in Crisis. That's what it was. It was a recent one too.
Right.
Oh, God, that series is terrible. I try not to knock other writers, but honestly, I can't get behind Tom King. I don't know what he's doing, but whatever it is, he needs to stop.
Yeah, I don't have the. I read some of Tom King's art, stuff he's been working on, and I'm not gonna lie, I was pretty excited about the Batman Catwoman wedding thing, and then he like turned it on its head, and it's like, what are you doing? Like, I don't get it.
Well, his whole thing was he wanted to give a sad Batman.
Well, Batman's sad already.
A lot of people I know wanted a happy Batman for a change. I'm tired of emo Batman.
So all he got was sad customers.
Yeah.
Right. Sad fans, maybe. I don't know.
Oh, it's funny, man. Yeah, it's like you said, Bruce, any artistic endeavor, man, it's all about collaboration. You got to have trust, otherwise there's no point. It's just,
I couldn't imagine working on something and not communicating with the artist, man. Like, I love spitballing with the artist. Like, that's my favorite part about it, is us, like, sitting down in virtual reality and just hammering it out and just having a good time.
Yep.
Yeah, absolutely, man. It's that's definitely the most enjoyable part, man. Like, it's strange to me. I had no idea that they had those strict rules with like big comics where they just like, all right, you do this job, you do this one, and it's like basically put like a wall between them and say, hey, no talking.
All right. Hey, I want to give a shout out to David G in the chat. He's actually watching. He said he's the indie comic rec guy.
Right on. So, I like that guy on Twitter. Hey,
yeah. David. Yeah. So, hey, David, thanks for joining us. If you got any questions, feel free to shoot them off.
Hello, David.
I'd hate for your chat to just scroll right off the page before I get a chance to read it. So that's a joke. Joke. That's a dad joke. Actually, a granddad joke, probably. So, anyways.
Well, actually, Bruce, I'd like to ask you about how do you prefer a writer to approach you with a story, script for sequential? Like, what is the process like in a perfect world? What process would you want to go through?
Well, that's a good question. And fortunately, I have a good example for you. I'm working with this guy, a friend of mine, who's a screenwriter. His name's John LaChase. If you don't follow him on Twitter, give him a follow. He's writing a story. He has a screenplay that we're turning into a graphic novel. And for right now, unfortunately, David says he'll have to jump off of the next one here shortly. That's cool, David. I appreciate you coming in and just saying, hey, I appreciate it. So, and so he'd never written for comics before. He'd just written screenplays. And so we got together and we started talking, and he kind of wanted to know the same thing, exactly what you asked. And I'm cool with, you have your story that you want to tell. I like to see them as like page by page, right? Or it doesn't even really have to be that way, but kind of what the writer sees in their mind of how the book might turn out, they can write page by page. And then we'll spend some time going over it, and I'll tell them, okay, I can make this work. For pacing, we might have to make this 2 pages, or no, we got this big action shot in here. We're going to make this, just 3 panels or something like that, right? So the whole collaborative thing is what I enjoy when I work with a writer. It's just like when I worked with you on this little flash fiction thing. I had an idea. He said, Nate said, hey, how about you draw Frankenstein? And I said, okay, sure, that's cool. So I started to draw the traditional Frankenstein, right, the one owned by Universal Hollywood, and of course you have copyright issues with that. And
no Boris Karloff for you.
Yeah, no Boris Karloff. So when I started talking to you about it, you said, I've got this, cool idea. Maybe it's an urban Frankenstein, and not urban, rural. God, I'm a retard. And maybe, he can do this. And so I started formulating my image around, what your story was going to be. So, then you asked me, okay, what's the deal with the Mary tattoo? And, I explained it to you, having to do with, a throwback to the original author of Dr. Frankenstein, or the Frankenstein monster. And so you incorporated that into your song or your story, and thought it was awesome, So, and then that's kind of the same way me and Joey worked on the next edition of the. We can't even say what it is. We could say it's chainmail, right?
Oh yeah, absolutely.
Yeah, we talk about chainmail.
Okay.
Yeah, just not the ones that are like in the very starting stages. Yeah.
Right. So, hey Zach Hawkins in the chat.
Oh, hey Zach.
How you doing, man? Appreciate you coming in. So we kind of did the same thing on that as well. He shot me some ideas of what was going on. I shot him an idea of what I pictured in my head right away, and we kind of massaged it, and we got what we got, and I think it's pretty good. So, yeah. So that's the way I like it. I hope that answers your question.
Yeah, it was pretty cool how you morphed it at the end, with the change of scenery, essentially. Because I honestly forgot about the scenery while I was writing what I was putting together. And then when you mentioned that piece of scenery you changed, I'm like, oh yeah, I totally spaced on that. I didn't realize the setting was indoors when we first talked about it. So yeah, that was pretty cool, man, when you kind of added that in, and I think it really helps connect the story to the art.
Yeah, for sure. Yeah, and then throwing that background in at the last minute, it was like, well, I know he wants it to be this, and we're not going to achieve that inside a catacomb. So I decided to change it, and I think it turned out pretty well. So
yeah, I'm really excited about it, man. It's pretty nuts, dude. Like, me and Nate were talking about your style, and honestly, it's funny you say you come from a game background. 'Cause what I said to Nate, I was like, man, it's almost like video game concept art, man. Like, it's basically the foundation of a video game, right? Especially a starting franchise where they don't even know what it's going to look like yet.
Right.
Essentially, the game is entirely flavored by that original artist that creates these concepts. And I feel like your style definitely has that look to it.
No, I appreciate that. I appreciate that very much. So David G asked, how many projects do y'all usually have going on at one time? Who wants to take that one first?
I will say too many. I mean, I just got started in this, and I'm already working on either 5 or 6. But on top of that, I'm doing all my other stuff, like graphic design, some web stuff, and then my music stuff and other stuff, all kinds of stuff. So yeah, I have a lot of stuff going on, but it's just a habit I picked up because early on in my career, I'd start projects with people, and they just never really had the initiative. They didn't get anything done. So I ended up finishing the whole projects on my own, and it eventually evolved into me starting a bunch of projects with a bunch of people and finishing the ones that merited being finishing with people that actually wanted to do it, right? So after that, I just kind of got used to that, man, to just starting a bunch of projects, and luckily now pretty much all of them come to fruition, so it's pretty cool.
That's great, man. It's awesome. But you, Skinny, how many projects you got going on?
I usually limit myself to 2 active projects. That means that's 2. Like, if I complete the script and everything, and at that point I'm just waiting on the artist, I consider mine done at that point. I mean, we'll still communicate about it and everything, but it's definitely no longer high priority at that point. But I try to keep it at 2. I don't want to wear myself out.
Right. No, that's good.
What about yourself, Bruce?
Well, currently I have 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. I have 5 projects going on right now, in different stages of development. I'm actually, I don't know how much of this I can talk about, but I'm actually helping some people I used to work with in the gaming industry do some art for their mobile game that's not released yet. So since I didn't say any names, I think I'm in the clear. So I'm doing that. I'm working on One Pool pinup for Mr. Marvel and Josh the animator, working on that. I'm working on a 10 to 12 page comic short, sci-fi short that I'm going to release on the web for free. It'll be a web comic. It'll be free. Kind of an introduction to my work and hopefully get more people interested in what I do so that when I do the rec again on Indiegogo, I'll be successful this time. So doing that. And then, like I said, mentioned earlier, I'm working with a friend of mine on getting his screenplay turned into graphic novel. So I'm busy, which I like. I like to do art. It's just, need to start making money at it too. So,
How you? Well, I kind of don't know how you feel because I've never heard of anybody approach a writer for a commission.
Do what?
But
I'm sorry.
I understand about needing money, man. Like times are tough today.
Yeah.
And David actually asked a question exactly related to that. He asked us, "Are you all in this field full time, or do you have jobs?"
Good question. You want me to go? You want to go?
Yeah, you could go first, Bruce. You were just talking about that stuff. So.
Yeah. No, right now I'm doing my art full time, and I benefit from a lovely wife who is right now. So she's basically carrying the load, and she supports me 100%. So it helps a lot. It helps a lot, believe me. Before that, though, I used to do comic stuff part time when I was working in the gaming industry. And then before that, I don't know if you guys know, I've talked about this probably a few times, but I self-published myself back in the 1980s. I had 2 comics I published. One was called Night Masters. One was called No Ninja Man. No Ninja Man was written by a friend of mine who was going to KU Law School at the time. And it was a parody about ninjas because back in the 80s, ninjas were a big thing. Everything was ninjas. Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles, radioactive black belt hamsters, adolescent blah, 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 tadpoles. I can't even remember the name of it now. But everything was ninjas. So he wrote a parody book, and I did that, and I published that. I published 6 issues of Night Masters and one issue of No Ninja Man. So, yeah, I've been doing this kind of stuff for a long time. I've just been fortunate being able to find, jobs and career jobs and what I like to do. So that's me in a nutshell. So I guess you could say I do it full time, but I'm not getting paid like I'm full time. So
yeah, I'm gonna ditto that answer. My art is something I do full time, but I've made $6 in my entire creative career, so I'm somewhat of a high roller.
There you go. Yeah, don't spend it all in one place.
That's a lot of tidbits, man.
It is. It's like 2.5 boxes.
I do have a full-time job. Yeah, there's no way I'd be able to support myself with writing.
Yeah, so I guess it's pretty unanimous. We do this because we love doing it, and
I'm happy with it, man. Like I don't go into this expecting, to become like the next Stephen King and make millions of dollars. No, I mean it'd be nice, but that's not gonna happen. I'm just happy that people get to read my stuff and they either like it or don't like it. Like,
yeah, no, I mean you have to be willing. You have to love what you're doing in order to be successful at it. If you love what you're doing and you strive to do better every time you do a new one, money comes. The money will come. So,
or it'll leave. From my experience, generally, it's like, I need this piece of gear. Goodbye.
Exactly. Or it'll leave
that's what I mean, though. I got the day job, which is something I don't like. That's covering my expenses and my bills and everything. anything.
Right, right.
And my spare time, I spend on things I do like writing. That's a beautiful thing now.
Yeah,
Yep.
man. I think like people in the old music industry where you had to rely on a label or whatnot, it kind of killed music for them, man, because it became this incredibly stressful job. So every album they put was worse and worse because they were losing the passion for it because it became such a drain. And I think the independent age of arts kind of allows people to create this stuff on their own and still retain that passion because we're not we could choose, right? It's like, yeah, you don't have to go full tilt in any direction. You could sit in the middle if you want. And I think that's a beautiful thing.
No, you're not beholden to anybody. So you only have to answer to yourself. Zach Hawkins asked, and yes, Zach, it was covered early on, but I don't mind repeating it if these guys don't. So he wants to know what inspired the three of you to get into the creative field. So you want to go over that really quick, each of you guys again? Just what made you decide you wanted to write?
Yeah, well, more generally, I guess it was a long time ago. Is my grandma had this old garbage guitar, this ancient guitar, man, and I grabbed it, I played it, and then it's like I like playing guitar, and then it just kind of that straight up changed my life, man. Everything after that just had everything to do with my passion for music, and then from there it developed into all kinds of things, from video games to general graphic design and CGI and stuff like that, and just now recently comics and stuff. So yeah, it started with an old crappy Yamaha guitar that my grandma gave me.
Nice guitar. Can you play guitar?
Yeah, man, that's what I do. I'm essentially a one-man band, I guess. Yeah.
I hate you. I took up the guitar about 2 years ago, and I can play chords, but I can't. I'm one of those guys that strums some chords together, and I think I'm playing. I'm like, yeah, and then somebody tells me, hey, play Hotel California, and I flip them off because I don't even know the first thing how to play it. So
I wouldn't be able to play it either. So yeah, don't feel bad.
I can play it, but I flip people off for requesting Freebird.
Yeah, Skinny's kind of I don't know. It seems we're on a different spectrum there because I tend to freestyle 100%. I don't really know what I'm doing, and Skinny is able to play songs, but he almost never does because he wants to make them his own. You know what I mean? He doesn't want to just regurgitate the same garbage.
Right.
I always try to put my own spin on things. Like I kind of got this reggae style of playing "Come As You Are" by Nirvana. Yeah, I'm down for covers, but I want to play it my way.
Right. And there was Jazz Enter Sandman, which I remember you tried to pick it up again, but that was just like a fluke when you played it one day, and I was blown away. It sounded so good.
Yeah, I know, right? I got to replicate that, man. I want it so bad.
So, Skinny, you want to go over again really quick what got you started in the creative field?
I just daydream a lot, and always constantly. I'm always lost in a fog. I'm perpetually stoned, some would say.
That sounds good, actually.
But I've always enjoyed like putting my thoughts down on paper and seeing other people react to it. They either laugh incredibly or, they call the mental ward, one or the other.
Right. Well, I mean, that's what they say about creative people. Either drop some acid or or just naturally crazy. So
yeah,
right?
We got to walk this line between insanity and obsession.
Right. All right. So, but we got anything else here now? Dave talking about Metallica, and he says I can play the CD. Well, that's kind of what I do too. Hey, can you play some Led Zeppelin? Yeah, here, let me pull it up for you.
He just won't help me because I can't even play the CD. I don't have a CD player anymore. I haven't had one forever.
Yeah, those are starting to become outdated, aren't they?
I tried a cassette one. I just couldn't get the hang of it.
Cassettes, man. I'm going to show you how old I am.
I used to love cassettes.
I used to listen to 8-track tapes. Do you even know what those are?
Oh, absolutely, yeah.
Okay. I was going to say, oh my God, maybe I'm really that old.
I still buy vinyls, man.
Yeah.
I record player. I got a pretty decent collection so far, I would have to say. Like I got some Deep Purple and ZZ Top and
Nice. Now you're talking.
Bad Company in there. I got a lot of cool stuff.
You know what's strange? Like I work entirely in the digital world when it comes to music, and I was sitting at a buddy's house, and he played a cassette, and he played some vinyl, and I commented just how beautiful it sounded. Like it sounded really good, both mediums, and he was surprised because in his head he thought digital's like it's pristine, right? It's supposed to be like perfect, essentially, and
well, it's too clean.
Exactly. That's exactly what I said to him. I said, music is entirely based in human error, man. Like that's where the beauty is. Because if there was no errors, it'd sound like those disgusting 80s freaking keyboards that like they were all perfectly tuned and everything was matched and just didn't make good music, man. Errors.
Like to be playing Rod Stewart.
Yeah. And you listen to like a truly great guitarist, you know what I mean? And what you're hearing, the personality you're hearing is actually errors, every bit of it.
Yeah, no, exactly. And that's the good thing about a good guitarist, right? Every guitarist probably makes a mistake here and there, but it's the good ones where you don't even notice it because, you know, they've got so much style, you know?
Yep. That is the style, in fact, is the errors and how they mask them.
Yep. All right, Dave G, got to jump. Yeah. Sounds good, man. Again, appreciate you showing up, asking some questions, getting involved. That's what the channel's for. So I hope you come to another one. Really appreciate it. So see you later, David. So we are getting actually around to the end of the hour. Like I told you guys, I don't really like to keep it more than an hour. I don't want to bore you. I don't want you sleeping on me, whatever, checking out on me. But I really have had fun talking to you guys, getting to know you, especially since we just got done working together, both of us. So I think it's going to be great. I think yes, I know for a fact the old monsters, old school monsters is already out because I got my copy of it already.
Yep.
And great story, Skinny. Thanks for letting me draw it for you. It was great. Great experience.
It was my pleasure, man.
And Joey, we got ours coming out next month, right? Is it May?
Yep, I believe so. Chainmail's next. Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, because Cyber Steampunk just happened, so yeah, we're up next.
Yeah, well, we're up. So that's fun. I had a lot of fun working with you on that too. So I'd like to close it up by letting you guys just talk about whatever you're working on currently, whatever you want to plug. Just go ahead, do it, man. Do it. So ready, set, go.
You go first, Skinny.
Alrighty. Well, currently I am working on something for the chainmail as well, and that's dropping in May. I also picked up another one for June, I believe. Was that the? I don't want to say it.
The Voldemort one.
The one that you know I'm going to pick.
I think I know which one. June. I think I know which one it is.
Yeah. I'm already.
I got that. I'm also working on an anthology story for Legends of the Lone Wolf with Doug Garrett and a bunch of other talented guys there. And after that, the artist I'm actually working with on that has agreed to do a solo Otis Stein book that we're talking about.
Wow, that'd be great.
Maybe I can get you on to do a variant, Bruce. That'd be pretty awesome.
Yeah, I would enjoy that completely. Yeah, just let me know. And it sounds great. What about you, Joy?
I mean, I got those 3 flash fiction stories that are done now. So yeah, the first one was Old School Monsters. Then we got Chainmail. Then we got one that shall not be named after that. It's not the real name. But yeah, then I got the Blue Book Universe, which that one's more of a long play because I got a lot of work to do to learn my craft. You know what I mean? Because I'll be doing the colors for that one. So I gave myself a huge lead to just kind of learn the craft and get comfortable with it and have fun. But yeah, Blue Book Universe will be out at some point. And I'm also doing Legends of Lone Wolf as well, doing a funny little story in there, which is just straight chaos. And James McCran just smashed it out of the park. He's just a funny dude. And yeah, aside from links and people, or telling people where to go, because I know people love being told what to do, as we established already.
Yeah.
Hit up Ashcan. I'm sure all the links are in the description. Pretty much everything I'm doing aside from Lone Wolf has to do with Ashcan Comics Pub. Nate has been incredibly influential and just an amazing person. And yeah, I'm really excited about everything we're doing.
Yeah, he's a good guy. I posted. Oh well, yeah. In the description, I think I put link just to ashcancomicspub.com. But you can. I think from there you can get to the Patreon account, which is where you can do the sub and get the 2 issues a month.
Our Twitter handles are also on there as well.
Yeah, Twitter. Got the Twitter handles on there as well. I got Joey's SoundCloud on there. I didn't know what else to put for you, Matthew. I'm sorry, not Matthew. Skinny. Sorry.
That's okay.
So yeah, we got all that up there. Again, I want to thank you guys for coming on. I really appreciate it. Trying to build this channel, trying to highlight independent creators. I'm going to expand to colorists and letterers next, because at first I was just doing writers just because I was so used to the art portion of it. And then I got some artists on, to talk about their process compared to mine, because it's really a learning experience for me as well. I get to see how other people work and how other people go about doing it. And it helps me learn a little bit as well. So I appreciate you guys coming on and talking about your craft, talking about your process. And I hope we get to work together in the future again sometime. It'll be a lot of fun. So, oh, and by the way, I want to say that for my own little self-promotion, since it is my channel, The Wreck, if you guys are not familiar with The Wreck, it was a graphic novel, sci-fi graphic novel that I worked on, that I tried Indiegogo late last year. Didn't quite work out, didn't quite hit the goal, but it's coming back to Indiegogo later this year. So I'll be building the hype up for that as much as I can until it comes out. So
we got your back, bro.
I appreciate that. I do appreciate that. So again,
I'm gonna share the poop out of it.
Do what? What?
I want to share the poop out of it.
I appreciate that. I do appreciate that. So again, thanks for coming. Thanks everybody that came to the chat. If you watch this on video on demand, hit the like button, hit the subscribe too if you want, and share it. These guys are a couple new and upcoming independent creators. So let's get the word out there. So appreciate it, guys. I'm going to talk to you later on.
All righty. Have a good one.
Yep.